You are all doing well today. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us for another week of the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show. If you are watching this on replay, we do this show every single week live Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern in our Facebook group, the Seven Figure Sales Savages. You can join us on Facebook at any time, and it is 100% free, where we share a bunch of information that's going to be super valuable for you. Today, not only am I joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Brian Downard, but we're joined by the actual co-founder of Actually Go High Level, one of the most incredible tools and fastest growing tools that I've ever seen in the space today. Sean Clark, my man, how are you?
Hey, heck yeah. Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Feeling good.
Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it. Hey, thank you so much. Hope you're doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I want to share a quick anecdote before we dive in on basically what we're going to be talking about today is how to maximize high level for your agency. And I think the unique thing is, Sean, if we did this show 3 years ago, which we have done before in our previous iterations, I think the majority of the people would be wondering what is high level. And it's very interesting how that has completely changed to everyone knows exactly what high level is, and they want to learn about it. So why don't you just start by telling us, Sean, like how this business kind of came to be from a place of, not a lot of people know exactly what it is. And now, it's everyone uses high level in this space. It's pretty incredible.
Well, I hope not everyone, but yes, no, it's awesome. So you know what? I'll tell you what happened. We met a lot of really amazing people in our lives, and they all were willing to help us in whatever way they could. And it was just an amazing experience so far. And every day I think it gets better. So I mean, we got here really simply because me and my original co-founder, Varun, were software engineers, and I had a previous SaaS company where I was helping small businesses, and we were really enthusiastic to try to continue to do that. But when we first came out with our product, which is very much aligned around this idea of helping them get more customers, what we didn't know at the time was that small business owners who are radically successful are almost always the ones that have an agency. And unfortunately, they don't really, or maybe fortunately for us now, is they don't really go around telling people that, right? They're not like, I am a rock star business. I have all these great reviews and all this wonderful success, but not because of anything I did, but because it's an amazing agency I hired, right? Like nobody ever says that. And so what was great for us is we met early on, a guy named Rob Nalex, who owned an agency, came in, really helped us not only improve the product, but really open our eyes to this idea. And then as we continued along that path, we just kept meeting all of these people who really showed us kind of the light, if you will. And we realized, like, whether you're an agency who's been doing it for 20 years or just someone who wants to be an agency, today, fundamentally what you are is someone who can learn these tools, learn these technologies, continue to move with them because they're not static in any way. And really, you're sort of the change maker, you're the success maker behind the scenes for all of these people that you serve. And so when we realized that, when we found that, we just said, hey, forget it. We're not selling to SMBs anymore. We're focusing on agencies. And that's kind of what we've done for, 4 or 5 years now.
Incredible.
So that's how we got here.
So I want to share this quick anecdote before we dive into it. And at some point, Brian will speak, I'm sure, because I know he's just dying to make Alex stop talking, which is pretty common.
I've heard Brian speak before, so I know he can.
I'm pretty sure you can, right? Okay, he can. He laughed. We're good. I'm joking. But I wanted to share this really quick because I think this is really interesting of how fast JHL has kind of taken over this space. When we first met, I think GHL had like 1,000-ish or something like that users, and you guys sponsored our event POD Live in 2020, right before COVID, by the way. It was February 28th, 29th, because it was a leap year, and March 1st, the 7th, that everything shut down. So it's pretty crazy in the timing. At that point, most of the people in the audience had no idea what high level was. They were using ActiveCampaign or Confusionsoft or all these types of things. And now it's incredible to see like every single person we work with in POD knows what it is. And now our mission is, instead of, having them sign up, it's getting them on the agency plan or the SaaS plan and helping them grow. And it's just incredible to watch, how you've almost 100x the business essentially in 4 years. And so what we want to talk about today is how people can maximize it. So Brian, I'll kick it over to you. We're going to dive on in.
Well, it's funny because I have, and this is in a positive way, it might not sound positive when I say, but clients who aren't on Go High Level begrudgingly know they have to do it. And like, you know what? I know this is so important. Everyone's saying it, like, I'm just going to do it. So I think that's really impressive that it's like now it's a necessity in this space. And we hear that from people and they feel like they're missing out if they don't have that for sure.
You have to go to the dark side eventually. So
So the first thing, Sean, that I wanted to just touch on is just the utility of high level, right? Like the weird thing that I've found in the space of entrepreneurship is people for some reason love the idea of complexity, but then obviously in action, complexity really crushes businesses. And when there's so many features that high level can put together and provide for agencies and their end user clients, I think a lot of people struggle because they have a hard time making something that's not complex. For an example, if you go in the high level group and it's a zoomed out picture, you can't even see what anything says, but there's like 75 workflow steps. There's like 1,000 comments on the post. Not because anyone has any idea what it is. It's just, it piques interest, right?
Oh, yeah. People are like, whoa, that's amazing.
It's amazing. You're like, how do you know? You have no idea what it is. It could be just a fake Lucid chart. But like, if you just post a 3-step workflow, they're like, that's garbage. That's terrible, right? How do you help people understand the utility of high level to avoid complexity and be able to actually utilize this tool effectively to sell and grow their business and retain their clients more?
Well, we leave it to experts like you more than anything else. Because I would say, and we of course preach it from the mountaintops, as it were, but I will say that is always our challenge and always will be our challenge, because it's sort of like, I like to use the Trader Joe's analogies. Some people won't know what that is, but there's this grocery store called Trader Joe's, and it's like super micro small compared to like the average grocery store, like 1/10 of the size. And I always love this example because it's like, it's like, why do they exist, right? It's a peanut butter example. So if you ask people like, hey, when you go shopping, would you like choice in your peanut butter? And everyone's like, oh yeah, absolutely. But then you put someone on a real shopping trip and you go into like a normal, like a Safeway or something here in the US, there's like 40 freaking peanut butters. And then all of a sudden you actually have to make the choice of peanut butter. And you realize, oh God, you know what? Actually, I just want to get in and out because shopping isn't my life. And I just want to get my food and go home. So Trader Joe's, of course, has like two. It's like chunky or smooth, make your pick and move along. And I think that's why they exist, right? And so I think it's that perception of complexity that's important. But the reality is about creating something quite simple. And it's not just for the agency, it's actually for the small business. So a lot of, what we talk about is, hey, how do you take and create an offering out of these tools that is incredibly slim, incredibly, and the benefits are they're ROI positive, high margin, right? Incredibly scalable, very technology driven versus the more traditional, like creating Facebook ads, doing lots of custom work, taking forever. So, but I will say human beings have this uncanny and an unfortunate habit of needing this really good feeling of, wow, I can get 40 peanut butters if I need it, even though that's kind of stupid when it really comes down to it. So yeah, that's just a thing.
Very interesting.
Can you share an example of something you guys feel like is complex or people make complex that Go High Level has simplified?
Well, sure. Like, why do we have 150 features, right? We call it, sell them what they want, give them what they need. So we sort of have to I would say like, there are probably 5 features that you could easily build $100 million business on. And let's get really specific. Missed call, text back. How many businesses do you ever call that don't pick up the phone? And answer all of them many times.
Yeah.
Of course, I've had that experience, right?
Okay, well,
if
Sean, I love what I'm about to show you, my man. Keep going.
Oh, okay,
keep going.
great. Okay, so if that business were to text you back and say, hey, we're on the call with another client, would you like to book an appointment? Which, by the way, is like where 99% of business interactions go. Most of us would be like thrilled and we'd be like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Right there. That how many of those people do you have to turn into a client to like charge someone like $300 a month? Like one. See, very simple example here. That's $100 million business in the making. And so, but all these other features like WordPress hosting, like, yeah, I guess, but we have it there mostly just to get people's attention, not because we think that there's like some big, thing going on in WordPress land. In fact, if anything, from a local business perspective, Google is very intent on killing websites across the board, regardless of where you host them, because they really want you to use Google My Business. And they're trying to make Google My Business like the Facebook lead ad versus, the website, like the landing page. So, but that's just part of the game, I think.
So Sean, you mentioned the missed call text back feature. I want to show you something that Brian and I put together for this and for
Let me
everyone
guess,
watching.
a 1,000-step workflow. I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
Of course. What do you think? I'm going to show a Lucid chart. It's going to take 75
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
I break down every single little element. I'm going to show it then how I moved it from Miro into high level. Yeah, exactly. No, it's actually something, and this is so the fun irony of it. I told Brian about this. I'm not an Excel spreadsheet guy at all. I'm really not. Brian is pretty good at it. Not nothing special. I told him the idea and he was able to make it. I think Brian, without hyperbole, 8 minutes probably. It was very, very fast. And then I shot a Loom video and I sent it over to Rob and Alex and I sent it over to Chase and Wesley so we can share this with the high level community. And so I wanted to do is share this with you guys first. So if you guys are watching live and you want access to this, just drop calculator in the chat below or drop it on the actual link on Facebook, but I'll show this to you. Missed call text back.
That's a lot to type. If you want to drop a 1, that's okay too. If you want to just do a 1, that's not like...
One is cool. One is cool. So Sean, one of the main things that we've seen is the missed call text back is one of the most valuable assets to sell easily because they're just such a simple example framework that you need to do. So what we did is we put together a calculator for people that want to sell this tool that all they have to do is go either in person to anyone that they know, use their religious community for the businesses they have, or on ads, share this calculator, which essentially is what's the average client value? On average, how many calls are you missing per week? What is your average close rate on a very conservative basis? Based off of this math, you will have the money that's left on the table. So if you change this woman hair salon example to $300, this is how much money is left on the table every month if they miss only 10 calls per month, right? And you could see every single element to tell them, hey, you're leaving at least $1,800 a month on the table every month. With our system, we can get you a 450% return on your investment because all we do is charge $397. And this is just a woman's hair salon example, let alone a roofing company, a gym, etc. You can do this for any business. If you want it, just drop a 1 in the chat and we'll happily send it to you. We thought this was a really cool feature to kind of showcase how to sell something in high level without having to sell 1,000 things.
Yep, there we go. There's my favorite example. So, that's how and I really do think that, and this is the funny thing. It's like, well, who could I sell this to? Oh, I don't know. Everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah,
literally.
That's the deal. Just go sell it to everyone. And so, this is kind of like you highlighted. It's one of those situations where I think the simplest things create the most return and value. It's just hard for people to wrap their heads around it because they sort of think, gosh, how could that be? That's craziness, right? But it's just not that's the reality. And I love that calculator, actually. That's brilliant because it just shows how dumb and simple it can be to create tons of value very, very quickly. And again, absolutely. Here's the other fun part for those of you.
I'm very good at keeping things dumb and simple. I'm very good at that.
That's how life should be. Dumb and simple, right? And ultimately, this is kind of where, I would go with, this is a great thing. It's not a limiting factor. This is the other thing I've heard of, like, oh yeah, but what if I just pigeon my whole self in that? It's like, listen, no, if you want to do custom websites or something later on, you can obviously do that. Like, it's not like you start 100%. There and you can't go elsewhere. It's if you start there, you'll be successful and you'll make money and you'll create a durable recurring revenue stream on which you can build, versus if you go elsewhere, I'll tell you, we've all done this. I mean, you're going to go off into the rat hole of, like, running around with 5 clients and then losing them all the time and killing yourself and, having people not recognize the value you're creating for them. And it's bananas. It's terrible.
Yeah, I love this. I just wanted to note for the next question, because Ganesh asked me, like, what is the missed call text back functionality? The functionality is if basically someone calls a business and they can't answer the phone due to whatever reason, there's just an automated text feature from high level. I'll say, hey, we missed your call. Sorry about that. Because we missed your call, here's a $5 credit. You don't have to do that, but you could do something like that and give us a ring back, or we'll call you back then.
The irony is, let me tell you the irony of this is that almost everyone calling doesn't want to call. You know that? I don't want to call to book an appointment. I want to text, but I'm so used to the fact that you don't make that easy on me that I didn't even know that's possible. And so what's great about the missed call text back is I wouldn't offer a $5 credit. I just offer the person what the heck they called to begin with. Is like, hey, would you like to book an appointment? I'm telling you, that's what everybody's calling to do. They're not calling like, hey, Mr. Plumber, so how's the weather today? Like, nobody does that. Like, how are you feeling? Or what? Nobody cares, right? And so ultimately, it's just literally, would you like to book an estimate? And 99% of people say sure. And with high level, of course, you can go nutso after that. Like, you can automate that entire booking flow right off the back of that response. But I always am cautious. Like, if you don't know what missed call text back is to begin with, be careful, you could start there and do just fine, right? But the other cool thing about it is when you do that, you also get a lot of data. So just let me avail you all of some quick knowledge here. If you ask the average small business owner if they miss calls, they're going to lie to you because they're lying to themselves. They're going to say they don't miss calls because they don't know. I know this because my first business out of college was an answering service where we answered calls for small businesses nationwide. We had 5,000 customers. We had 400 employees. And here's the funny part about it. 90% of our customers would call up with the following thing. They'd be like, hi, I need to sign up for an answering service for after hours, because they could, in their minds, they could perceive that perhaps they might miss calls after hours. And we would just play along with them, even though we knew they didn't know. We would say like, oh yeah, of course, all those after hours calls. Then they would turn the system on and it worked like this: busy, no answer call forwarding. So you would call, it would ring 3 times. And if they didn't pick up, it would move the call to the answering service automatically. And wouldn't you know it, we would get every time the most calls at 10 a.m. in their local time zone, because they'd missed all their calls in the middle of the freaking day, because whoever it is that they said was answering the calls was not answering the calls. And not because they were doing a bad job or they were horrible people, because they'd give them 30 other tasks to do, like greet the people walking in the front door and go get the coffee and go pick up the this and do that, right? Fundamentally, the missed calls right smack in the middle of the day. That's where we'd staff most of our people. And sure, they'd miss a couple in the wings, but honestly, they're not missing a lot of calls at 2 a.m. They're missing a lot more calls at 10 a.m. And the missed call text pack feature fundamentally solves for the same issue for a lot less. It's fully automated.
Incredible.
Yeah, love that, man. A minute ago, you brought up this idea of effective ways to just stack your recurring revenue, build your business. So I know a lot of people in this journey in the marketing space are towards the beginning of that journey, and there are successful SaaS entrepreneurs in this room right now, that are friends and in our community. There are successful agency owners in this room right now that are in our community, and I'm just curious, like, for the people who want to get there, who want to either leave the job they currently have, or create more time freedom, get to those higher levels, or those levels financially higher where they want to go. What I'm asking is, what's your opinion on the SaaS versus only agency versus hybrid? I've always thought that the agency model allows you to create recurring revenue quicker with less sales, but there's a one-to-many factor with software. So what are your opinions on that?
Okay, let's slice and dice this bad boy. So first of all, the agency model is terrible in my opinion, not because it holds a lot of promise on the front end. It's like, ooh, just go get 3 clients and $5,000 and ooh, money shoots out. But the problem you're not realizing is on the back end, the cancellation rate is prolific. The number of small businesses are going to pay you $2,000-3,000 a month for anything. I'm talking anything is 0, because no small business owner, here's a quick thought experiment. Okay. If you go and ask any small business owner, how many outside human beings do you pay $3,000 a month to for anything in perpetuity, right? Like forever. 0. Exactly. Thank you. 0. And so as a result, you're walking through the door and you're like, hi, I would like to be your most expensive human being that you pay in perpetuity external to your organization. Like, that is putting a big target on your back. And I will tell you, having talked to thousands of agencies, it is a brutal slog. It is a terrible life to live. You just get on the hamster wheel and it sucks. Plus, guess what? It's a lot harder than it looks when you actually do it. Go try running a Facebook ad, getting the targeting right, getting the creative correct, writing all the copy, changing it up all the time to make sure that it doesn't go stale. It's a lot of freaking custom work. And you just said, I'm working a job. I'm trying to get out from the rat race. I can't have something that requires a truckload of work on my behalf while I'm also trying to do my normal job, try to get out of it. So the SaaS, what I love about it is, first of all, you're not selling software. So let's get that out of the way real quick. We talk about software because software enables outcomes, but you're selling outcomes. You're not going to please do not go to small business owners and say, would you like to buy a CRM? Or would you like to buy missed call text back? Or would you like to buy web chat on your website? Don't do that. That is like a pit of despair, because then they'll debate you on software features, or they'll say, we already have something that does that. And that just sucks. Talk to them about what they want. Say, look, do you want more customers? Do you want a higher ranking on Google? Do you want more 5-star reviews? Like, do you want, whatever, right? Those are the types of outcomes you want to talk to them about. And the answer, of course, is yes, they all want those. And now the tools that we're discussing on this call are what you're going to use to implement them. But do not talk to them about tools, because they don't actually know. And if they pretend to know, you're going to get into a debate with someone. It's like sort of like me debating, one of you about like heart surgery or something, which is weird because I know you had heart surgery, Alex, but it's a stupid idea because I don't know anything about it. Neither do you. So why should we, we're 2 idiots debating about something we don't know about. Right. So focus on outcomes. And here's what's great about SaaS. Let's say you sell just one thing, missed call text back, and you don't call it missed call text back. You call it, I'm going to get you more customers from the existing phone calls you already have today. And you do the whole thing of like, listen, check this calculator out. Look how easy it is. I'll tell you what, if I don't hit this mark, I won't even charge you for it, right? When you do that, fundamentally, you're going to be able to create a $397 recurring every month kind of thing. And you're building that business. But what do you have to do? What kind of work do you have to do to put that in place? It's about maybe an hour's worth of effort the first time you do it. And it's probably about 20 minutes the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time. And now they're not calling you every day like, oh my God, what do I do? Because it's all automated, right? So you're working your way out of that job, and that $397 recurring goes on forever, right? And you're not doing a bunch of custom work for it, and the churn rates are a lot lower, and you're not going to stop at 5
Sure.
clients, go down to 3 and back up to 5. You're going to
Sure.
keep on trucking to 30, 40, 50, 100.
It's amazing.
Got it. Cool. I love the answer. Some people probably in the agency space do and can relate to that. And honestly, our coaching on that is find a white label partner who can support on the work. So you're not doing it yourself. So you're in that place. You don't have to stay stuck. But I do love this model. Now, my follow-up question to that, Sean, would be, because of the lower price point, sure, there's a higher retention. You obviously have to acquire more customers to get to those revenue numbers. So if you need $10,000 to replace your income, the math comes like 25, 30 clients. So that being said, people tend to believe they can put up a website and they spend a lot of time working on that website, or they work on like a webinar or something, and they try and think that that's going to be the thing that sells it. But in reality, when something's new, it's going to be a lot of one-to-one outreach. So how do you coach people through getting those first 5 customers, then getting to 10 and 20, and like actually to a number that's realistic?
So this is super important, right? So like you can always do things to like enhance your sales at a later date. But for those of you who are literally starting at 0, like seriously walk out your front door. Like literally go to every business, and you're using your home court advantage. Okay. There's all this like stuff about niching and all of that. And like,
I like that phrase. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I hate all that
Home
stuff.
court
So
advantage.
because home court advantage. Just walk out your front door, right? You have a lot in common with the local business owners in your area, if nothing else than the weather outside, right? Like you really can create connections there that are, and what is the point of those, right? Who do people buy from? They buy from people they know, like, and trust. So that helps create that connection. And think about it like this: small business owners serve their local communities, right? They buy local, they get revenue local. They want to buy from people who are local. It's just a natural response. And if you look at many other businesses, every dentist in all of the cities and states where you live, at least in the United States, the likelihood that they use Patterson Dental or someone like them who drives a van up to drop off their dental supplies is huge. Patterson is a national company, but they don't rep that way. They feel like there's a local van guy. It's kind of like your postal service person, right? Some of you may know your postal person who drops off your mail. Heads up, the USPS is a very large federal government-backed national kind of thing. And yet we all sort of think of that person as like our person because we know them because they live in our community. This is how you want to operate, especially early on when you're trying to get those quick wins. And by the way, for the record, prior to the SaaS stuff, prior to any of this, when I would talk to agencies, the agencies that always had the lowest churn, even in the web game and the Facebook ads game and the this and that game, they were always local. Just every single time. Every single time.
Is so important. Absolutely agree. I wanted to share a couple things about quick wins that we've identified for high-level users that's super valuable, because what you're talking about, Sean, I like to use a specific term for it. I call it audacity sales. The reason why is because the idea, Sean, is super easy. Like, oh yeah, I'll go outside and do it. And then people just will find every excuse not to do it. Like, I'll just cold call instead. I'll just send emails instead. I'll just work on my website instead. I can't possibly take the idea of getting no. Just as a reminder for people who have never followed me, my agency grew because I went in person to attorneys' offices because I had the audacity to straight up tell the paralegal, I can see the attorneys there. Let me just talk to them for 2 minutes. It works. So audacity sales is something that I think is really key. I wanted to share with you guys something that I think is a really valuable framework for quick wins that anyone using high level can implement and also amplify your success. If you want that, just drop a 1 in the chat and I'm going to share it here. And thank you so much for joining us, by the way, Sean, again, and everyone listening. We're always grateful for your time. Really appreciate that. If you can help us out by dropping a like or a love on it, would help us a ton. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, sorry, I did have one more. I gotta go. I'm sorry. This is important, right? Because this is how people then get to the next level. So, Sean, after you sell your initial people, are you typically suggesting they go in a direction of an industry? And then how do they start selling one to many? Because again, I think people try and rely on like a landing page or website to sell it.
So, okay, let's bifurcate this though. Okay, listen, I don't want to talk, if you're listening to this, if you don't have 20 local customers or 30 local customers, turn your ears off, right? Like, don't go here until you get to that place. So please realize that's what I'm talking about. So for me, what I would do at that point is and honestly, what I would do is I would go to the Chamber of Commerce and I would do like a free seminar on how to market your business online. I would do all that stuff before I did anything. And by the way, that works. I hate, okay, couple stories. So one, I live in Eugene, Oregon.
That's where I started my agency.
Perfect. I live in Eugene, Oregon. There's this guy in this small town right next to me. I remember getting on a phone call with him. He's a high level customer. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to niche out pastors and all that. And I'm like, oh, that's a terrible idea. They have no money. And so I talked to him 6 months later. I said, how are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm doing terribly. I'm failing. My life is collapsing and I'm having a horrible time. And I'm like, that's a bummer. And so then he showed up at our annual event this last November. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. How are you doing, man? He's like, oh, I'm doing amazing. I'm crushing it. My life is just turned around. It's a whole different world. I said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. What'd you do? And he's like, oh, I just started going to the Chamber of Commerce in Eugene. And I'm like, I told you that on our first call. And that's
no, you didn't, Sean. You never told me that. You were never looking out for me. You never loved me.
No, I told you, you just don't want to hear me. And so ultimately, and here's the thing. So what I would say is like, if you haven't done that, then don't listen. But afterwards, if you say to me, look, all right, that's it, Sean, I've dominated my town. I own all 30 businesses in my small town. At that point, you can do really interesting things. And here's my advice on this. Go to people who have your customers already and make a deal with them. Right. I'm a big fan of going to people with Facebook groups and saying, hey, I noticed you have 2,000 people in here that you've blood, sweat, and tears to get these people in, to provide them value, to run this group. But guess what? Let me guess. You don't really make a ton of money off of this deal. Maybe you sell a course or something. This is like a one-time deal. Like, how are you going to create recurring revenue? Right. Let me help you. I have this amazing platform. I have 30 customers in my town that I've dominated that I can show you these results. And here's what I'm going to say. If I can come into your group and I can do a webinar and they're going to buy, I will pay you 40% every month recurring for the rest of the lives of those customers. How does that sound? And I will tell you, those group owners will fall out of their chair if you do a good job, because they do have that problem. They don't have a good recurring revenue source, and you could be that answer for them. And it helps really rocket up your sales.
And reminder, from only one feature, you don't have to do 17 features. It could literally be.
Yeah. I like, that's the most important thing to me. There's like really quick story on this. We have a client right now who identified a Facebook group in his niche with 8,500 people in it, and it wasn't really being fully utilized. All he had to do was go talk to the admin about that. And now he basically has an open door to post value, get leads, generate opportunities from this group. Just freaking asking. There's 8,500 people in there. All you can do is ask. So anyway,
yeah. So
you know, it's oil.
I always tell, I tell my son, good things come to those who ask. And ultimately you're like, yeah, but wait, Sean, hold on. That sounds great, man. But how am I going to do all this? How am I going to track all of the affiliate stuff and blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? High Level has affiliate management software built right in. Oh, great. There you go. There's your answer. You can do it right here in High Level already today. So you could go to that Facebook owner tomorrow, but only for those of you on this call who have dominated your town, right? Also, quick proof point here. This is Alpine Heating. They came to my house 6 years ago. They did my HVAC. The guy who did it was amazing. It was phenomenal. He blew me out of my socks. And I looked online. He had 12 reviews. And I said, what in the world is wrong with you, man? You have 12 reviews. Are you kidding me? And he's like, I know it sucks. I don't know what to do. And I said, listen, what if I give you a piece of software that would automatically get new reviews for you? He said, how much? I said, $300 a month. He said, sold. And that was 6 years ago. And I barely have heard from the guy since then. And as you can see, he now has 548 reviews. He doesn't do HVAC anymore, by the way. He's got 13 trucks. When I met him, he had 2. He's the boss man now, and he's got to be one of the biggest in my town, all off the back of the 548 reviews. And the only 2 people in town who have more reviews than him are people who had reputation management in place before, and they're national brands, and they suck because they're not owned by some guy locally who cares a lot more about the job he does in the town he lives in versus these local guys who are just, what are these not local guys, national guys who don't care as much, right? He's crushing it. And that's off one feature, never talked to him.
And we
Can
see
be
this
done.
all the time, Sean, with our clients that use high level for SaaS, that they're just really focusing on one feature or two features instead of 17. And there's so many that you can use to leverage for any niche, for any opportunities. I want to share this quick win idea. Sean, I think you will really like this. And it's something that I want to share with as many people as I can in the community, because here's the thing, when I share this insight, this is the absolute reality. Most people will just not do it. Okay. So what Sean is talking about in terms of audacity sales, of getting out, going in person, door knocking, etc. If you are willing to do that, bravo to you, good for you, I'm happy for you. How do you scale something like that, right? What you'll often hear at some point is, let's run ads. Brian and I are all for that. Absolutely. We've spoken before about sponsoring events and going to Chamber of Commerce and Dream 100, but there's one thing we've never spoken about today on this show, and that's the boots on the ground approach. And I want to talk about one of our former clients, Mr. Gross. I won't share his first name because it's not fair. But ultimately, he built an $100,000 agency doing PPC, SEO, and high level with this approach. And his approach was basically going to Facebook groups in the United States for college students, posting in that group saying, who wants to have an extra $1,000 to $5,000 side hustle per month? All you have to do on a commission only basis is go in person to local businesses to pitch our service, this specific thing. And he would get literally dozens and dozens and dozens of college students, many of them who are terrible, some of them who are very good, go on his behalf to these businesses and ultimately sell the product on their behalf, whether it was a high level product or a PPC product. This method still works. You can do this either through like Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups of people that are in this industry. I think Discord is pretty common now for like college students as well. Or you can literally go to schools, internship programs, and get an intern. You're not allowed to pay them technically. They get credits. That's a totally side note thing. I'm not a legal advisor, so I'm not going to tell you what to do there. But in general, you can actually have over 100 people working for you, going to their local towns, thus maximizing your growth opportunity. The question is, will you do it? I'm telling you right now, 25 people or so here live with us, another 20 or so watching live, however many people that are going to see this on our email list, like 17,000 people. How many people are going to do it? I would contend less than 1%. If you do it, you will really change the entire landscape of your business and be able to create unbelievable opportunity for yourself. So something I really want to make sure.
And for those who might be fearful of going door to door, well, I agree with the effectiveness. And I did this with my college friend when I was showing him how to start an agency. We just went door to door, and he got like a Cairo business that like they freeze people temporarily, or not, like, you know what I'm saying? Like those weird cold machines. They turn them into a Han Solo or whatever. And they come back in like 5 seconds. They're great. But yeah, going door to door works. But for anyone who's like afraid of this, go to a place where they're already going to meet up, and that's already the expectation of being there. So BNI, Chamber of Commerce, where people are already going there with the expectation to network and meet up. And that's a great way to break the ice also.
So I wanted to also ask you, Sean, obviously, one of the main things we see in the high level community consistently is people aren't tech savvy, right? So if you're not tech savvy, how do you focus on closing and growing instead of focusing on high level support, like tech support? How do you recommend that? What do you do with that?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, if you start with the easy stuff, the amount of questions there are very limited, right? So I would sort of say, if you're just getting started, start with one feature. There's not a lot to learn there. And if you feel compelled to do 2 or 3, that's fine, but stay really tight. So the tighter you stay, the more scalable you're going to be, because the crux of this, like the big downfall here is the lack of sales. So like we just had an event recently, and my favorite person from that whole event was this lady who stood up and said, I have no idea what I sold, but I sold 5 people. Can someone talk to me and help me, right? Like that lady is going to crush it, because I can help her. We can help that person. Like, focus on your sales. And again, focus on keeping your features really tight. We even have like a YouTube series that just like on the 5 things, but like missed call, text back, chat widget, like these things that are very easy to implement are very software run and oriented. Very simple, very easy to scale, right? And then as you move forward, you can kind of decide, like, some people like to kind of are techier, some people are not. And there's lots of options for you, right? Like you can always partner with somebody. There's lots of people who do like outside tech support, people who do outside tech, all of that. How you scale is not often, quite honestly, that's not the real hang up for most people, right? Nobody ever comes to me, and I hate this, ever come and say, I just sold 100 people. I don't know how to set it up. Like, I'd love that. It's the opposite problem, right? It's like, oh, I've spent 6 months setting this up, but I haven't sold anyone. I'm like, what? So go make that sale first. and then come back. And because you're selling outcomes, you don't even have to know how it works. You just have to know what it is, right? I'm going to get you more customers, from the existing calls you have. I'm going to get I'm going to get the people you already have coming to your website to actually volunteer their information to you so that you can follow up with them via text message and you don't lose them because they can't find the answer on your website, right? Like all of these really simple things, very easy to do. You don't have to freak out about the tech.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to add a couple quick things on the tech side that I think are really valuable. First of all, there's a couple companies that strictly all they do is tech support, like Extendly, Jan Singh, Matt DeSantos, High Level Pro Tools. They're both great people. They have great companies. There's a lot of people inside of the High Level group that want to help you. If you post in there, just be warned that your inbox is going to die with about 3,000 messages. My recommendation, here's a quick pro tip for anyone. All you got to do is know that you're definitely not the first person to ever ask the question you're about to ask, and probably Sean himself, because must be a masochist for the amount of love he has for going into his Facebook group to answer tech questions as the owner of the company. But I love it. I love that so much. But just look it up. Someone already asked the question 6 months ago. Just ask the person who posted it, who did they go with? So that you can just skip all the garbage. It will be a lot faster and a lot easier.
The other thing I have to point out is we have a fantastic support team. So when you first sign up, we have a trial to pay team. That's whole job is to help you through your trial. We have another team that just sits on Zoom, our customer success team. You can jump on Zoom. They'll actually do Zoom calls with you to get you set up. I mean, literally support's one of our biggest departments after dev. And in fact, I think it'll be very quickly larger. And so ultimately we invest just tremendous amounts of money. I think we have like 50 open recs even right now, just for additional support folks. So we have a lot of resources there to help you get going. So do not think that the second you sign up that like you're just off on a thing. We email the heck out of people. So by the way, when you sign up, look at your email. We send you the links. We're like, please, for gosh sakes, click these links. It's just the amount of time people miss those. In fact, we're even going to redo this so that I think it's like next week. If you're on a trial and you try to go to support, we're actually going to redirect you to the trial team. Or if you're in your first 90 days, we're going to redirect you to your customer success team, because we really want to make sure people get to the right place. Because what we find, it's not that we don't have the features or we can't create the outcomes. It's the fact that you along the way get confused or lost. And so it's really about just making sure you get to the right place. But I promise you, we have a truckload of people for free that are there to help you in your journey before you ever talk to any of these third-party outside vendors. So be aware.
It's like getting one of those video games that's super complex. You're like, do you want the tutorial? You're like, no. And then you complain how complex it is.
I know. That is exactly right. Now I get it. I do
it all the time, by the way. So I'm not being sanctimonious. I do that all the time.
Yeah. But just know that like when you do run into issues, like we don't abandon you. We are there to help you. We are very much a partner in your success. And that's exactly how we think about it. Fundamentally, if you're not successful, we're not successful because we don't sell around you. We're not selling to your clients, right? That's the whole reason we do the white label, because we truly believe at the end of the day, it's not the tool that is creating the outcome. It's you using the tool to actually create that outcome. And your clients will never be capable of doing it, which is why you'll never be, this business that you're creating is very scalable and very bulletproof, because no one else is going to come along and knock you off just because they have yet another tool. It's not the tool, it's you using the tool.
Absolutely. As we wrap up here today, we're going to do some Q&A if you want to. If you do want to do Q&A, can you just drop a 1 in the chat so we know that you have a question you want to ask Sean before we wrap up? Sean, while we're waiting for this, I also just want to say like publicly a thank you for everything that you do at High Level and the incredible community that you've built. I hope you and Robin and Varun and the whole team are just really, really proud of what you built. Obviously, I'm always wearing the culture hat. Besides for the balding, I'm wearing it because I really do care about community and culture, and it's incredible to see what you guys have created. It really, really is special.
Well, I mean, we've taken a lot of inspiration from you and the things that you've built. So I certainly appreciate you helping teach us how to do a good job.
I appreciate that a lot, sincerely. I wanted to share a quick anecdote for you that I thought would really light you up before we wrapped up. And if anyone has any questions, just drop in the chat a 1. And if not, then just thank you so much for being here. I want to share this anecdote before we go because I thought it was really funny. Sean, we ran an event at my house a month ago in January. Everyone at the event uses High Level already. And they asked me at the end of the, day one, like, hey, where do you recommend we go eat? So gave them a recommendation of this burger place I love. And it's so funny how high levelers are now. They're like, oh, but Alex, they only have 20 reviews. Like they don't even have like a good widget on their website to ask questions. I'm like, oh my God, guys, it's a good burger place. Just go there. They send me a text. there's 8 POD members, all high levelers, trying to sell the owner on all the features of high level. It was incredible. I would have been, I just, it was just so funny. I had to share it with you.
Something's
It's
gonna
very,
get on.
very funny experience.
I'm telling you, reviews
It was
are
great.
everything for the burger joints.
It was great. It was super funny. Does anyone have any questions for Sean about high level? If you do, you're more than welcome to ask and unmute yourself and do that. We'll end the spotlights here. So you can do that. And if not, thank you guys so much for joining us as always. And Sean, as always, thank you so much for your time, willingness to share. Very, very grateful for it. Does anyone have any questions for Sean? And obviously, just in case that someone somehow doesn't know what high level is, what's the best way to get started with high level? What do you got to do? Where do you go?
I think you'll give them a link if I had to guess. Where I would highly recommend you go. Whatever link out.
Do it with me. Yeah, me. I'm the best affiliate there is. So no, I'm not, but I try.
I think it's amazing. So I give you that credit. But yeah, anybody have any questions before I hop off? Go right ahead, Stephanie.
I actually do have a question.
Fire away.
Hi guys. So I'm the owner of a transportation company. So I've been in the transportation industry for about 4 years now. And I wanted to know if high level is something that I can probably use to kind of market to the local, the other local transportation companies in my area for like one thing I noticed is a lot of trucking companies don't have websites or they don't have like automations and things like that, which it can be used.
Of course not.
Do you think that's something that can be scalable and like I can kind of make that my niche to market to those companies?
Of course. Absolutely. In fact, I mean, some of our best customers started off in a particular business, and because they were able to use it in their own, and they had this intention of kind of moving in the marketing agency direction, they create two things, right? So they bring their knowledge of the industry, which is really a great basis for what they build and the real value they provide, but also the authenticity can just not be beat, right? Because, I think it's one thing if you haven't done something before to walk in and try to make that sale, but then when you get that pushback from that person, you could be like, come on, you're kidding me. I know your business. I've done this 100 times, right? So I think that's a fantastic way to go and something that you could absolutely scale and would be a great idea.
What I love about it too is I have been working with agency owners for, I don't know, 5 years, hundreds of them at this point. I have never once heard someone bring up that niche, and that is a blue ocean, we call it. It's not bloody like dentists or chiropractors or gyms where everyone works with. No offense to anyone who knows industries, but those are more challenging, right? And if you have a unique thing that no one else is serving in an industry like that, I think it's a great idea too.
Crazy enough.
Thank you guys. That's what I was
while
thinking.
you're chatting, Destiny, we had someone in the Facebook group say, in all caps, we are currently using GHL for a transportation company. We've been
That's the second one I've ever heard of.
Faster. It's a company that currently has 1,500 trucks. Could I speak to you privately? I think he means it to not be on all caps, but it's on all caps. So it looks like he's yelling at you, which is hilarious.
Okay.
You should check that out, Destiny, on Facebook. Dar, you wanted to ask something? You're muted. Is this the first time you
got it.
How do you buy the cat picture? I need to know this also. I need to get the cat picture.
Oh yeah. So
it's a silver fox.
I know, but it's just disturbing song so much to call it a cat.
I know.
It's
It's
entertaining.
I think it's supposed to be beautiful or something. I don't know. But what can you do?
All right, Dar, go ahead.
Here's what I was going to say to Destiny. So for what it's worth, you can horizontal niche, etc. But just like the guys were saying, if you use it in your business, you can really speak to it and accelerate things more. So one of the guys who coaches under me, Daniel Nguyen, he tried horizontal and he got some results and so forth, but not until he actually utilizes high level for his nail salon, that he spoke to nail salon agencies and said, hey, here's what I'm doing for I use this software for my nail salon, and it tripled my business. So much so that I was able to open another one. And then I dominate that market in a couple of months. And so he's able to speak from that perspective, and you could do the same. Anyway, since November, he's got over 100 clients. He's got like 138 clients now since November, just doing that. Because he could say, hey, this is what I've used in my business, and here's what it's helped me to do.
Absolutely. And I'm actually currently using high level, but I have someone that's been assisting me set it up, and it's been like a whirlwind, but I'm getting there. I mean, I still speak highly of it though, because thus far, what I have seen, it's amazing. Thank you guys.
So I think that brings me to a good question for Sean. What are the most essential features someone should start with? Like, forget all the noise. Like, I need like 2 or 3 things when I'm getting started with Go High Level. Text, callback, leads. What else?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me find the playlist for you, but I've got it on YouTube. But basically, if you go to our YouTube channel, let's see, it's called, I don't even know what it's called, but I'll find it. But basically there's like
Fast
5
Five.
things. And oh
Fast
yeah, it's called
Five.
the quick win. Yeah. I used to call it that, but it's not that. I think it's called like the quick wins playbook. Oh, here it is. So anyways, it's literally though, it's like, it's so not rocket science. It's literally things like missed call text back, web chat widget, two-way text messaging in general, Google My Business reputation management, Google My Business chat, all of these things. Again, you could in half like Google Business messaging, missed call text back, and what else am I missing? Oh yeah, all the tracking and everything too for all the inbound calls. All of that is literally just one thing. You like connect, you just connect the Google account, and we automate like three of those features, right? And so at the end of the day, just go do that.
Love it.
Right
Amazing.
there.
So I will drop,
Thank you.
I will drop that playlist in the Facebook group as well. Sean, thank you so much for your
And
time.
then-
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Anyone, by the way, who wants that calculator, we're gonna drop it in the Facebook group below the recording
right.
of this. So you can get the link in there also.
Right.
Thank you, Sean. Great
All
Everyone,
right,
insights.
so-
thank you all.
As always, thank you for your time. We're always grateful for it. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Have a
We
great
will be
day,
back
everybody.
Next
Bye.
Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. See you, Sean. Next Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here. We'll see you then. Lots of love. Have a great day.
See ya.